paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
The fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
And paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Hello and welcome to Paint the Fucking World, a podcast for artists by artists. My name is Visual Salt and joined here with my co-host Nolan, and we are with Robin from the Sad Babes Club. How are you this evening, Robin?
I'm doing good.
Good, glad to hear that. Robin, you are an artist based out of California, correct?
Yeah, Fresno, California.
Fresno. Are you originally from California or you're a transplant?
I'm from Merced, California, which is even smaller than Fresno, but same Central Valley area. Basically, my whole life, I lived on the East Coast for like a tiny bit of time, and then I came back because I missed it.
All right on. Yeah, I like I said, I live in Oregon, and I'm from a very, very, very small town, like 2,000 people, and then now I live in a much larger city, which is very art-centric, so it's pretty great. I feel like everybody looks at California as very art-centered. Like, you know, you have LA as a huge hub, and then you have the East Coast with New York. Do you experience like a lot of art where you live, or?
We do actually, especially Fresno. We're thriving with artists, and I actually just founded an art collective here in Fresno with a couple of friends. We got it off the ground. We've been in talks with like a few educators from San Diego and Humboldt. And we have a million projects on the books, but especially in Tower District, Fresno, that's kind of like the live wire of artists in the community. It's really nice.
That's awesome. Like, what are some of your goals for your collective you're trying to do? Like, or do you have a name for it yet?
Our main focus is education. So like, if we can get people resources to get educated in art or become an educator, I run like social media for a local makerspace called Root Access Hackerspace, and they provide you with like so many tools for the community to be able to like create things like a laser cutter or a 3D printer, a whole crafting space, things to make like a guitar amp. And like we try to connect people with classes they can take, or they can teach a class there, and then like the resources possible to like go to a vendor event and host like an art show. It's just trying to plug people into the right areas is like a big part of what we want to accomplish, especially this year.
That's awesome. That's really similar to what we're trying to do with the Paint the Fucking World Art Collective, trying to build up and support artists and eventually get to the point where we can connect. It's hard to do that when everybody lives across the country. Yeah. But it's awesome that you have founded a group locally that you're able to do that with.
I'm definitely trying. It's
so
we
hard.
We're all closed off for COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to reconnect people and kind of bring them back together and remind them that, like, essentially, like, unionize artists, because we need our own voice in the community and not be told, like, you need a permit. You know, just that's art. Like, let's just.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always think it's a big thing to kind of come together with artists as far as like pricing your work and things like that, you know, because a lot of artists don't know how to price their work, and they price it so low that it really will hurt the community as a whole, because they just don't know what they're worth and their time and things like that. So I'm like, you know, it's always a hot topic with artists.
I struggle with on my own stuff. So it is nice to get feedback from other artists that are about inclusivity and not exclusivity, because that is something we definitely avoid. We do not like exclusivity. We don't think it's helpful. We definitely aren't gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Like we're trying to.
I think it's just like, you know, there's a lot of young artists that I know that have asked me for advice or talked to me, and I'm like, you know, what are you normally pricing your artwork at? They're like, oh, I don't know, $50. And I was like, how long did you work on that for? Oh, I don't know, 8-10 hours. I was like, $50 is paying you like nothing.
Yeah.
Really covering your costs. I mean, if you want to do it for a hobby, that's great, but charge more. You're worth more. You know?
Yeah, Tyler and I have had these conversations. We've gotten into some discussions, man. When I first started trying to sell my art too, I was in that realm, like $50-$60, whatever. And he's like, "Are you kidding me? It's like 150 easy." And I'm like, "What?" No,
I was
gonna buy it
I was-
for $150.
But somebody's going to see value in it, and that person's really going to want to pay that much and support your art so that you can continue creating. And without artists, what is the world even? Like, what's the point?
It's
Right.
such a hard thing because you want to sell artwork to make money, so sometimes you're like taking less money just to get it out. I mean, I will definitely take less money with artwork that I've had for 2-3 years, just because I'm like, I've been sitting on it for a long time, and my art has evolved so much. I'm like, it's just I need a clean house. But I try to be consistent with my pricing, and what I'll do is I'll get a price in my head, and then I'll tack on double. That way, if I have to go down by half, I still get what I want.
Yeah, it makes
because
sense.
haggling is such like an expected thing in the art world. People,
Yeah.
Which is
and
unfortunate because they'll buy fakey art crap on Amazon for $30 and feel like they've really contributed to being like part of the art community. I'm like, please don't do that. Please just pay somebody that really put their heart and soul into a piece and actually value what they do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I told Marco, I was like, hey, if you go to, say, Fred Meyer's and purchase one of their canvas wrap prints, you're looking at about $200 for one of their nice canvas wrap prints from an artist that you don't know. It's not original, and most of the time it's an unknown artist anyways, but somebody won't pay $200 for an original piece of work because they think it's acceptable to try to haggle you down. Why is that an acceptable thing in this community? I just don't know. But artists undersell themselves all the time, and I try to let people know, hey, when you undersell yourself, it really hurts as the community as a whole, because people think it's acceptable from now on.
That is so true, actually. I think I definitely want to bring that discussion up for our Art Block meeting, because that's something that a lot of the artists in the community struggle with, especially coming back from like not being, able to do art hops for 2 years and show off their stuff, and like they're kind of just like, how do I even make ends meet at this point? And I'm like, you could really put yourself like further out there and get more for it because you worked so hard. So that, yeah, it does mean a lot. Yeah,
I mean, I started a project in October. I mean, a lot of people do Inktober, and I'm very stuck on selling those pieces for $31 because it's 31 days in October, and it's just, so with all of those pieces, I could probably charge $50 to $100 per, but I'm very stuck with that number because it's kind of a special, specific thing.
It's like a theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and
right.
And honestly, it kind of drives a buzz, which is good, and I sell those pieces, and I think making art for everyone, because not everyone can spend like $3,500 on one of my larger pieces, but if they could spend $31 and still own one of my pieces of art, it makes them, it's more inclusive at that point, that they can still be a part of it. Yeah. And I think having original art is special for a lot of people, so I like being able to provide a wide variety of price ranges and honestly going to different venues and setting up and selling. You kind of have to cater to that venue. Some of them are going to be more on the higher end. Some of them are going to be on the lower end.
And that's actually something we talked about in our art collective too, is like when we have to cater to venues, it's not helping artists. And we want to try to like get our own galleries and just like set up shop in random places, do like not safe for work events, we want to do an art show specifically by children who can sell their art pieces. And I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to set them up in like the mall. Like I want to give them some cool place that they can feel really proud of and part of the community, and it's kind of edgy and make them feel like, even though they're kids, they're still people.
Yeah, you pop in the Martinellis and pouring that 6-year-old Marco right now is going, yes, yes, yes. I don't know if you've listened to the episode with Marco, but at 6, he was out there slinging art on the side of the street.
And honestly, get him started young.
Yeah. My 3-year-old loves to make art to the point where I'm constantly scrubbing the walls, and it's very abstract, expressionist, just all the way down the wall.
Is Inner Jackson Pollock, man.
Yeah. Now, do you ever make it out to any, art openings or galleries where you live, or is that more difficult with COVID right now?
I do now. Like, I got vaccinated and boosted, and I feel like I double mask everywhere I go. I try to be very safe just because, like, I have like my mom I have to worry about and stuff. So I just try
Sure.
to kind of overdo it. And then when I am able to go out and do stuff, there's just a lot going on in Fresno. We have a downtown community, we have Tower District, we have North Fresno, we have Clovis, and like they always have something going on. So whenever there's
That's
any
cool.
type of event, I do try to pop in and check it out and see what's going on. And then I also do social media for the hackerspace, so I have to kind of be on top of like what's happening in Tower because that's where they are, and it really kind of keeps me up to date on everything. And
Sure.
in our art collective like group stuff, like they're always telling me about stuff that's going on, so I kind of feel like there's so much I can't even like go to all of them,
Yeah.
but it's good.
Probably a
It's
little
been really
overwhelming
good.
at times.
I'm happy. I'm glad. For a while it was so stagnant. It was depressing, and I started hosting these mixers so people can just come and not work, because at vendor events you can't talk to each other. You can't leave your booth. So we never
Yeah.
really got to know each other. So I did like a non-work mixer where you can just go and hang out, and we put art supplies everywhere and everyone was just hanging out. No icebreakers because we're all weird and we can't, artists are so
Sure.
weird. We can't do stuff like that. So no structure. And it was just great. And we want to do more of those when it's a little safer, and maybe even online ones. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah. So you say you run or help like the social media manager for an
Root Access Hackerspace. It's a not-for-profit in Tower that essentially like you get like a really nicely priced membership. Like I think it's like $20 a month, and you're able to go and use all the supplies, 3D printers, wood cutters, like sewing machines. There's a whole lounge full of video games if you just want to come after work and like relax. There's a conference room. There's a huge printer. There's an endless Cricut machines, endless supply of stuff, and it's all donation based and community centered, and like they help people and they'll teach you how to use all of those things. So you're not just flying blind and need to know how to make, a resin 3D print. They'll be like, oh yeah, we can train you on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Now
it's great.
you have the collective you're currently working on, and then you have the Sad Babes Club. Now, is that the Sad Babes Club? Is that just you?
It's just me.
Just you.
I'm the saddest member. Oh, hey, I like your shirt.
Yeah. And then you have this other social media. That's a lot of social media you're going through. I mean, do you post for everything every day, or
I
you
try
try?
to post everything every day. I actually used to run like social media for a local tattoo shop that my friend owned, and for a local restaurant that was having a difficult time during COVID having the social media presence. So I would go in, do photographs, videos of their food, and just for like a whole year work for them until they were able to hire their own SEO person. And that was a lot. But I feel like when you are an artist and a small business owner, you tend to say yes to everything, even if you get overwhelmed, and you just keep going. Also, I have ADHD, so I don't think I can ever just not do something ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Like clinical ADHD. I'm like it's not like a trend. Like I actually do, and it's very frustrating sometimes. It's not quirky, but like I can't ever just turn my brain off. So I keep it busy.
Yeah, I have a tendency to put as much on my plate as possible, just because I like being busy, and so I do a zine once a month, and I just finished this one today, the last day of the month. And I do a sketch a day for the entire month, and I also write in it, and I interview artists, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And then I do all the social media for my own work, and then we're doing the collective now, and it gets a little overwhelming, but I think that it's worth it, because I know in the end it's definitely going to lead to something great. So, but yeah, it gets a little.
It taught me to accept help and integrate with my community, because a lot of the time especially for my shop, obviously I have to do it by myself. Like I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have anybody working for me. And that part gets a little bit lonely. I have like a pretend skull that is my coworker I hang out with. His name's Stab. But for the other stuff, I'm like, why do I have to do this by myself? Like, of course I should ask my friends for feedback. I should, have a FaceTime with some people when I get a little bit stressed and ask them for help, because I used to just not do that, and I would isolate myself, and it didn't help my creative flow at all, and it didn't make me want to do what I do.
Yeah, we have the Paint the Fucking World Discord that the lounge always has somebody in it, and it's nice. We have a couple different lounges that we have an art lounge, then we have a regular lounge. We also have a movie room where people will go in there and stream movies and hang out. And it's nice to be able, with COVID and a lot of us being, spread out across the country, it's nice to be able to kind of, congregate in there and hang out and talk, and the mixing of ideas. And it's been really a really positive thing. And as not a single parent, but I'm a full-time parent, being able to have a place to go in and hang out while my wife's at work.
Yeah.
And not just talk to my 3-year-old. It's kind of great.
Have an adult conversation. Sometimes I forget that I can do that, because my son is like 12 going on 40, but every once in a while he's like, you're still a kid, and I really can't bring any of this stuff up. Like, I have to find an adult to talk to.
Yeah.
And my husband,
absolutely.
he's always in the office. He's meetings. He's like a programmer. So
okay.
I don't know what any of that means. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like we were talking earlier, I'm technologically inept. So let's take a step back in time here. Most people I talk to, they say they've been creating artwork since childhood, but when did you really start taking your artwork serious?
Since childhood.
Since childhood.
So my dad, my biological father, I was not close to him as a teenager and adult, but in childhood, even though he was like heavily on drugs, heavily drinking, he was an artist. He would constantly throw me in situations with art supplies where he was pretty negligent, but most of the time he'd at least give me some art supplies. And I think that might have been the only time that he was proud of me. So I felt like it was very important to me. And he was, as a profession, when he did have a job, he was a grave digger, and he engraved tombstones for a living. So he did the artwork on a lot of tombstones. He even did his own parents' tombstones when he worked there. So I would be at the cemetery all the time looking at these like beautiful works of art, essentially marking somebody's passing, heavily inspired by it. And he would put my artwork all over his garage when he was working on his Harley and hanging out with his buddies. And he would be like, my kid did that. And it just made me feel good. So ever since then, even though he and I clearly didn't have a relationship as I was older, because I was like, oh, you are literally on drugs. It's not healthy to be around you. It's not positive as an influence. I didn't want my kid around him. So we were just like estranged. But I did carry that into like every aspect of my childhood. And my mom was like very helpful. She put me in theater arts. She let me go to the playground and sing my guts out, even though it was embarrassing. I ended up being in a band when I was older. So she's like, well, I'm glad I let you do that, because I couldn't do anything else. We were broke, like dirt poor, but the best thing I could do is take you on the swings and let you sing and draw all over the ground in chalk and just, make art. That's pretty much the only joy from my childhood. So
that's awesome. I kind of similar to like how I started. Like I was really young. My mom would take me to art classes. She would drive me to the next town over, and and I was in a band when I was younger and sang all the time, and very, very similar to my story as well, with obvious differences. But that's cool that you've been taking your artwork serious for a long, long time. I mean, it's something you've had a passion for clearly since childhood.
I don't think I've ever wanted to do anything professionally besides that. I've worked so many different kinds of jobs, from gas stations to selling wine at Bevmo to literally working in a sweatshop for a while as a single mother to try to make ends meet, like everything. But I've always come back to making art, and I just finally said, fuck it, I'm going to make it my full-time job, and I don't care how broke I am. This is going to work out. And sometimes we struggle and sometimes we have good months, and my husband has a 9-to-5 and that really helps us out. But I would never go back to the shit I was doing before. I just wouldn't. My soul would just die.
Yeah. I think being a full-time artist is very much living with the ebb and the flow. and accepting that. You know, some months you don't make a dime, some months you make enough for three.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and it's
That's why you have to price your art. What
yeah,
you're talking about. It's so important.
yeah, definitely. You know, listen to you talk about your artwork in your childhood. How has your art changed from then? Seems like a lot of the stuff I see is very creature feature. With I've seen some gravestones and things like that in your recent art, but it seems like that's been something that's been a reoccurring motif throughout your art career.
So I actually haven't done a whole lot of my own art for my shirts, unfortunately. Like I have really bad like arthritis, but my concepts, like I'll sketch it out and I'll tell my artists that I hire what I
Okay.
want, and we'll go back and forth. So for example, the creature tee that you're wearing, I commissioned Austin Pardon to do it. He does vintage Halloween designs. I was heavily inspired by vintage Halloween growing up. I have Universal Monster card collections like from childhood that I used to we didn't have like TV because we're broke. So like when the black box would get shut off. That's like when you steal cable, but like they would come around and zap it. So when I didn't have anything to watch or do, I would just sit there and like make up stories in my head about all these little monsters like Wolfman, Invisible Man, like the Fly, and like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Like I totally was like in love with Frankenstein. Like every single one of those movie monsters, like I loved, and I grew up with horror movies, and I'm heavily inspired by Halloween, and it's like literally I find my people when I get involved with that community. It really feels good to bring it to life on shirts because it's like wearable art, and the artist, like when I contacted Austin Pardon and I told him I want a creature from the Black Lagoon doing a kickflip over the swamp, and he goes, got it, working on it right away. I totally know what you mean. I have it in my head. And when he came back to me with the concept, I was like, yes, thank you, because I couldn't have imagined it better. Like, but and he was like, oh, what made you think of that? I was like, I literally dreamed about it.
I feel like you and I are kindred spirits because I mean I do Halloween art every single month or every day throughout the month. Like my latest zine I just released is all Scooby Doo.
Oh, that's so cool. My brother would love that. He loves Scooby Doo.
So
we had like
I did
a mystery machine in our town recently.
Oh, that's so cool. My daughter and I have a bond for Scooby Doo. My daughter lives with her mom, so that's a whole story in itself. But you know, when she would come to visit, that's what we would do. Dad would make her chicken nuggets and steak fries and homemade ranch, and we would sit and watch Scooby Doo in color. That's just one of the things that it's a fond memory that we always have together. I mean, she's 16 and we still do that. So you know, when I was doing my monthly zines where it's a new Halloween character or a theme every month, I was like, oh, I'm doing Scooby Doo. Like I have to. It's so relevant through almost every generation. So yeah, I that's so cool. I was checking out your artwork beforehand because Marco was like, we're gonna have Robin from the Sad Babes Club, and I'm like, I don't know much about her artwork, so I gotta go find out, and I gotta check it out. And yeah, I really like your art. It's very punk as well. And somebody
I
had
honestly
mentioned,
say I've raised punk. My parents used to go to Dead Kennedy shows. I've been punk since birth. It feels good. That's part of the art community. It's part of being a good person and making things yourself. And if I can't make it myself, I will hire an artist and I will pay them and I will tip them and I will tag them and I will get them more work. Like I do not gatekeep my artists at all. I want them to be so busy they can't, you know, get a commission from, you know, me. I want them to be like, sorry, you have to wait 3 months because I'm so backed up. I have so many jobs, because that makes me feel good. That means the artists that I want to hire are worthy and like great, and when they do find time to make art for me, it's a passion of theirs and not just a moneymaker, you know.
But
when I do make art though, like, not to say I don't, I tend to focus on like collage pieces. I've done oil painting, I've been in art shows. I was a professional photographer for many years, but doing portraits really killed that passion. But now I've been back out doing plant photography, landscape and building photography, and it's really rekindled my love of photography and editing. And I actually want to get my kid like a disposable camera, and he and I go take like mural photos downtown, because that's something he's been wanting to do. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then, you know, I have a friend that can develop them for us, so it should be fun. But like, I have a lot of weird art. I don't know if it would work for my shop, but it definitely makes me happy to create it just for me.
You know, I did photography for years and years and years. I did band photography, and I never made any money. I always got free merch, and the bands loved my photos, and they would use them. But, you know, being a photographer is very, very hard to make a decent living from. And I got so burnt out that I have a really, really expensive, nice camera that I rarely even take out. Like, it's just something that I do everything on my phone these days. Like, I have a Canon
It's so
7D.
easy. It's easy
Yeah.
to do on your phone. There's nothing wrong with it. If I tell people all the time when they're like, "How do you do product photography?" Because they'll come to me and ask, because mine, not to toot my own horn, but like beep beep, my shit's pretty cool. And like, they're like, how do you da 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 da? I'm just like, all right, just get your phone camera. They're all, you did that with your phone camera? I'm like, yeah, because I don't have time to take the photo, put it in Lightroom, work on this, work on that, because I have 13 other jobs I have to do. So when I do photography on my good camera, it's for me, and I make the time to edit, and I sit down, and that's for me. And sometimes I do sell my prints at like Art Hop and stuff, and I would like to eventually get back into that. But right now, my focus is on so many different things. Like I have an internship coming up next month for screen printing. My screen printer that does my shirts is teaching me how to do my own.
Awesome.
If you think about it, that's a pretty big risk on his part, because he could lose me as a client when I learn what I need and buy my own equipment. But he's willing to
Sure.
take that risk because he believes in my business, and he wants to retire in a few years. And fingers crossed, I could buy his equipment and just do it all myself. And help other small businesses.
Yeah, we have a good friend in the Discord who does screen prints and Green Rabbit Press.
Oh,
And they don't screen print shirts, they do like actual prints.
I just watched a video of theirs that they did silver on velvet bags. And I was so interested to see like what's gonna go in them. Like, I've been following them. I was like, wow.
Yes.
Cool.
They're Josh and Nicole are like amazing. They're my screen printing power duo. I love them both. They're just great people, and they're so knowledgeable and willing to give up the knowledge to anybody who asks, which is really cool.
It was so hard to find a screen printer because of that. Like, nobody wants to share who they get their work done by, and it's so frustrating, because I was just like, I'm not gonna do your designs. I just want to hire somebody for my business. But then when I found Jim from Dynamic Ink, he's local, he's great. He literally does all of it out of his garage. Like, he's such a sweetheart. Like, everyone in my family loves him. I send him cookies like all the time, and like,
nice.
but I tag him and everything. Whenever somebody needs a screen printer, I say, this is who you go to. Like, I can't believe people will gatekeep stuff like that. I'm like, come on. Like, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, when I first moved up here to Alaska, I was actually very overjoyed that the artist community was like really big, and people like at all the events around here. You know, there's a lot of different artists that do different mediums, and there was one that I instantly loved their style, and I was like, oh man, their stuff is so cool. And I was intrigued on how they did certain things. They did like all over print sweaters, and this was before I even got into the garment game, so I didn't know anything about printing on shirts, the styles of doing it, the different versions that you could do, right? So I was like full on. And so what I wanted to do was, I went up to him and I asked him, I was like, hey, where do you get your hoodies done? Because I really like your style, I really like your hoodies. And they were like, oh, like, just it's a print shop. And I'm like, okay, cool, but like,
you're like,
are they local? Like, where? No, they're in California, San Diego. And I'm like, okay, like, do you have like a business card? Can I ask you? Like, I know I want to get some of my stuff printed. Like, I just started asking them all these questions, and
it wasn't just that stuff.
Yeah, like, for real, it was not just their hoodies or their sweatpants or anything, but it was their prints, just their prints alone. Okay, because I didn't actually start selling my art until like 2 years or so after I moved up here. So it was even just a simple question of where do you get your prints made? I could not get a single answer out of this person. And so finally, first of all, I was really sad because I really liked their artwork and I really liked their product. But when somebody comes up to me like that, and regardless of whether I like their stuff or not, and I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry, but I don't really like your attitude, and I really wish you were more supportive. I'm not going to support you, and I'm probably never going to work with you. So I'm never going to own any other merch, even though I would like to. You know, it's like I'm not.
That gatekeeping, I know a lot of it stems from artists not wanting their art stolen or copied. And I understand. But if you are putting art out, your shit's going to get stolen and it's going to suck and it's going to hurt and your feelings are going to hurt and you're going to want to yell and scream and whatever. And like, I mean, the Sad Babes Club itself, I went through the whole process of trademarking it and having a lawyer and all this. And I know my shit's going to get stolen and it's going to suck. But I just, at the end of the day, I'm still making what I make and I'm going to keep going and doing it. I'm going to keep helping people and giving people the right resources to get their stuff made, because without more wonderful art out in the world and small business owners, the billionaires and corporations and soulless machines are just going to crush us. It's already bad enough. So why do we have to make it harder on each other when we could just not be dicks? Like, I don't understand that. Like, just tell somebody where you got it printed. They're not going to print the same shit as you. And if they do, you're like, hey, you suck.
We have our Saturday market here during the spring and summer, and there was an artist that was selling one of his art books, and I had picked one up and had him sign it, and I was like, just out of curiosity, where do you get these made? And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't talk about it. My publisher won't allow it. And I was like, really? I you know, there's no publishing marks in it, so I'm not understanding. And it pissed me off to the point where I was like, fuck, I wish I didn't buy this.
Yeah. You're like, cool.
Like,
I like if I had been rude to you, Marco, like you probably would have been like, fuck the Sad Babes Club. Like, I'll give you something to be sad about. I'm not gonna buy your shit. Cause like that's mean. Like, why are you gonna be mean to people? I mean, I get like kind of being defensive, or like you wanna feel proud of what you do, so you don't want it to be like taken from you and you want the credit because you work hard on it. But you know what you did. Like,
right.
no one else is going to make you feel good about yourself. And if you're looking for other people to do that for you, and then you start being weird about it, like, it's not going to make you feel better. You're just going to be very defensive all the time. And then some people, they just think they're hot shit, and like, that's cool or whatever, but like, we all die. So
my philosophy on this is people that gatekeep are insecure about their own art.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in a competition with a single artist.
Nope.
I'm in a competition with myself.
The day before me, the me from yesterday, that's the only person I compete with.
I have a lot of people ask me what my favorite piece is. I always say my next one. And
yeah, because it's exciting to think about what's to come, because you've already done what's done. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make some more shit.
I mean, I'm consistently trying to push myself in a new direction. If somebody was to steal my art, I would probably be completely flattered that they liked it enough to steal it. I have had one piece stolen off a wall where I was displaying. Kind of pissed me off, but I was like, they liked it enough to steal it.
Yeah.
So,
but like,
I mean,
I feel like if somebody did that, I'd be like, you could have just asked me, and I probably would have given it to you, because I have given people prints before just because like they didn't have money, especially young people.
Yeah,
have,
absolutely.
Like, Venmo and stuff. I'm like, just take it and just like tag me in it for, you know, to help me out. But like, if you don't have to, and it sucks, but the only time it's ever hurt me where somebody's like stolen like a concept or an idea that I worked really hard on, and like were like friends that just I didn't realize they weren't my friends. I didn't realize they were just kind of like glomming onto me to get a little bit of like notoriety or clout or whatever. Not that I'm like super popular, but like, I mean, I try to be open about who I am, and a lot of people like me because of that. And I think that's because I'm not a dick. And like, then they turn around and they kind of do the same thing. And I'm just like, man, like, you're not even passionate about what you're doing. You're just trying to make money and get a little attention. Like, that's not longevity, because you're never going to love what you're doing if you do that. Like, you got to find something you love to do. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing the same shit and being unhappy. You might have $1 in your pocket, but what's that going to get you at the end of the day?
With the amount of money that I make a month, I have to love what I'm doing.
You gotta love something about it.
I have to be passionate about it, because like I said, there are some months where I don't make a dime.
Yeah.
And that's just the harsh reality of what it's like being an artist. There's a lot of I listen to this podcast called Clean Break. I don't know if you ever heard about it. It's an art and business podcast. It's very informative. I glean a lot of information from it.
I'm gonna take a note.
But the reoccurring theme that I hear in that podcast all the time is you have to eat a lot of shit before you succeed.
Makes sense. Yeah. You kind of just, and then you put a lot of money back into your business if you have a small business and you don't see any of it and you're in the red for a long time.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Unless you get lucky and have an investor. But even then, I started doing videos on TikTok about how things get produced or how I get them produced, because a lot of people will message me and be like, oh, you're out of this tea. Can you get one printed? And I'm like, I don't do like pre-orders unless I know that my printer's like, hey, these are like 2 days out. And I'm just like, okay, I need to make enough money to like pay for the shipping for when I do sell more. And I've only done that like 2 times, and I only do limited, like 5 or 6, 7 shirts maybe. But most of the time it's ready to ship in my hands. I know I have it. And I order them in batches based on how many colors there are with a local screen printer. So I can't do like a one-off shirt for you until I learn how to screen print. That's one of the reasons I want to do it, because I'd like to do like a one-off crazy shirt on some flannels or like some vintage pieces that I find, because I have a lot of friends that do vintage, like reselling and stuff, like in collections. Mm-hmm. And they've talked to me about it. I'm like, yeah, that'd be dope. Like when I learn how to do it and I don't suck. But like for right now, I can't just give you one shirt, because that's not how it works. He has to order the blanks, and he has to order the ink, and you have to set it all up. And then I have to pay for, the minimum of like 25 shirts or 50 shirts, depending on the colors. And that's just the way it is. He's broken it down for cost for me too. And he gives me all of a deal. And I still don't make that much money, because unfortunately, I don't price myself the way I'm supposed to. I feel bad now, but like I really should charge more.
No,
I don't know.
You actually reminded me about something that just recently happened. It goes with what you were just saying, and then what we were talking about before with the whole like art stealing and stuff. Yeah. This actually has nothing to do with art stealing, but it was just so phenomenal to me. It like melted my heart. Okay, so a local person apparently bought one of my t-shirts with my Mother Earth graphic on it, right? It was a small, and either didn't fit them, didn't like it. It was a gift for somebody and they didn't like, I don't know, but it ended up in a secondhand store, which I'm okay with. I don't care. Somebody paid for it. Somebody bought it, decided they didn't want it. Cool.
You still got the money for it. It's cool.
Right.
And it's out there.
But the cool part is that my shirt got a second chance at life, because somebody locally that does exactly that, goes secondhand storing, and then they put stuff on flannels and resells it, literally found my shirt, and I press my own neck tags, and I put my website. I put my website on the neck tag, right? So this person went to my website, found me on Instagram, and messaged me and asked me, "Hey, can I use this on a flannel?" And I was like, wait,
for
what?
Them to even ask you that is cool, because most people do it and resell it. And that's fine. That's their right. They can do what they want. It's like yard sale law or whatever, but like that's pretty polite and kind.
It was so freaking cool.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, wow, the fact that they asked you is baffling, because I mean, if they find a shirt in a store, that's it's a wearable piece of artwork. So whatever they do with it is their choice. They purchased it at that point, but the fact they reached out is really cool and just says a lot about that person as an artist.
Yes.
And it's like somebody that we definitely want to associate with.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I actually ended up telling him. I actually ended up telling him exactly what you just said, Tyler. I was like, first of all, thank you so much for reaching out to me, but you can do whatever you want with that shirt. I got what I needed out of it, and now you get to do something with it because you paid for it fair and square. That's exactly what I said. but she was like, they were keeping me up to date with everything. They're like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is the flannel I want to put on it. And it was just really cool because they were like asking me what I thought or whatever. And then once they put it on the shirt, not only did they put their markings, their tags and all that stuff, but they went and cut out my tag and put it on the shirt as well. I was like, what? And they tagged me on Instagram. They tagged me on like their Facebook. It was awesome. So I was like, okay, new friend. Definitely. But yeah,
that's how it should be. We should be supporting each other with that level of like care and integrity. But it is their choice to do whatever they want, and you can't get upset. But like, it does, when things like that happen, it really does feel good.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, when the way this podcast kind of evolved was, well, after I did my first zine, I wanted to start featuring artists. So I did the second one, and I just sent a Cold Creep. Stephanie was in my second one.
I love her so much.
Yeah, she's amazing.
We love you.
Yes, she's been. Her and I have been friends on TikTok like almost since I joined. So like a year and a half, I've been watching her work, and I just love it because it's very much akin to what I do.
She doesn't know this, but there was a time when I first started Sad Babes, my partner that I had started it with split. It was not a fun or exciting time, and I don't want to talk about that because it's negative, and I don't want to badmouth people. But
Sure.
It sucked. It was a bummer. And I had tried doing some TikToks and tried to get myself back into the hype and been like, I can do this. I can do this. And then there was like a day where I was just like, I think I might just sell all my stuff and quit. And Stephanie friended me and made an order that day. And it was the first order I had in like 3 months. And I just sobbed. I was just like crying at my desk, like crying, like, okay, I don't fucking suck. Like this, for some reason, like she made me feel like I could do it. And she was so kind. Like she commented on my videos. She really engaged in conversation. She wasn't just like a one-off, like, oh, cool, I like your shirt. Like she was very passionate about trying to be friendly and supportive, and just she's a good one. She really is. And
absolutely.
After that day, I really was just like, fuck, like I can do this. Like I just needed that little boost, and she gave me that little molecule of serotonin that kept me in the game. So thank you.
Wow, that's so cool to hear. I mean, I'm so blessed. Like I handwrite every note when somebody buys something from me. Like, and I always I send them a thank you because it means a lot to me that they liked my art enough to purchase it. And Stephanie has always been a supporter of mine, and for me to feature her in a zine, like, because we're doing a giant collab right now with 11 artists, and I was just going to feature all those artists throughout the year, and I was only going to do one. But then I was scrolling through TikTok, and I saw Stephanie, and I was like, oh, no, fuck, I got to do two.
Yeah.
I have to do two.
Her work's like literally right behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. The Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have glasses that she sent me.
Yeah, so like I was just like, I wanted to feature her, and I reached out, and she was so cool, and I sent her this list of questions, and she like went so above and beyond answering them that I was only going to do like one small article and then the picture that they submitted. I ended up giving her 3 pages worth because I was like, there's just so much good content in here, and what she had to say was just so cool and exciting, talking about her paranormal stuff. And I was like, oh, I can't limit it to 2. I have to do 3.
As a cemetery kid, I love her paranormal stuff because I'm like, I want to haunt. I know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
I know we're kind of getting off topic from you, but I think, it's definitely.
They're meant to change the world. I genuinely believe Stephanie is one of those artists that is going to change the world. I do. I feel like it. And I feel like we all kind of get that vibe from her. So I don't mind.
Yeah, Marco and I were talking about moving to Arizona so we could do the punk rock flea market with her. Because
I want to go and do that with her. I've told her I'm making it I want to go and meet her in Arizona this year. And she was like, well, I want to come to California. And I was like, well, maybe we'll just hang out twice.
There you go.
Yeah, like
we should have a group thing, meet up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So when we featured Stephanie, I believe this month as well. and it's such a great conversation and good to talk to her. So and then when she found out you were going to be the next guest, she was really excited, and I was like, "This is perfect. This is great."
Yeah,
So
I was mentioning, I was like, how crazy that you guys are going to be in the same in the same month. But
really
real quick, I
disgusting.
want to throw that out there. Like, see, to everyone that's actually listening, that is the importance right there of supporting each other. Because I honestly found Robin through Stephanie on one of her posts. I forgot what exactly it was. It must have been one of your T-shirts, because I instantly was like, "Who is this?" I clicked on the thing, went over to your Instagram, and instantly was like, "Oh nope, I love it, I love it." And then what I did see was exactly, if you don't mind, Tyler,
No,
something that I'd
whatever you
actually
want.
like to get into
Yeah.
is it's actually a question I had. What I saw was it was a video about you putting your stuff in a store called Abracadabra, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so not only was I instantly interested in your art, and like I loved it and wanted some of your merch, which I was sad to learn that at the time your shop wasn't up on your website wasn't up. I was like, damn it, I gotta wait. But
Glad you did. It was worth it, right?
oh yeah, no, definitely. I got 2 shirts out of it, man.
I had a lot of fun packaging your stuff. It made me very happy.
Well, I'm glad. But the question is, and actually it was the initial question I had asked you was, I'd asked you, like, how did you do that? What was like how would you tell somebody to get into like a shop like that? Because you have your merchandise in an actual store.
Yeah.
And you went off and told me all this information that I wasn't expecting, which was great. And I instantly was like, I love this person. Like she's awesome. Because you didn't know me. You did not owe me anything. And just the fact that you opened up that much was kind of my mindset and what I try to do as well. Because when I'm out there hustling, anybody, doesn't matter what age, comes up to me and asks me a question, I will base almost like lose sales just because I would rather explain to this person how to make money. I know it's very bad business practice, but I'm like, this guy's interested, or this individual is interested, not only in my art, but how to do this. These people might buy something. And again, I know it's very bad business practice, but just the fact that they have that wanting to, right? And that's how I felt when you were talking to me. So first of all, for the people that are interested, how would you like tell somebody to go about doing that?
Well, so Abracadabra is a shop actually based in my hometown. It's about an hour away from where I live. Owned by a crazy weirdo named Sarah, who I love. And she had like a lot of very like interesting, weird, oddity stuff, vintage stuff. And I really meshed well with her shop. And I had done a couple pop-ups like outside of her shop. She had bought some of my stuff. We got to talking, and she had a partner at the time move out and have like literally across the street open their own shop, and so they could spread out. And I was like, are you subleasing space? Because I would rent space here and put my stuff here. And she was like, yeah, I was going to try to look for some people. And I rent and I pay every month. I'm happy to say I make way more than my rent, which is great. She lets me merchandise it how I want. It's kind of like my own little sad babes corner. And I take lots of video and photos and I go and fill it myself. And she helps me keep inventory, and she just charges me rent. And the tiny bit is like tax that it takes for her to like put things in a bag, because she has to like buy the bags and stuff. Like I don't provide them. But if I wanted to, I'm sure she wouldn't charge me because she's just kind. But if you want to put your stuff in a place, there are so many different options to do it. If you can't find somewhere to sublease, or if you can't afford the rent of sublease, I would recommend looking for like, especially if you're an artist, looking for like a local music store or art store or your local weird shop, candle store, whatever you gravitate towards, something you enjoy, and see if they will do consignment, because that's a great way to start, even just to get your stuff out there. You won't make 100% of what you would sell it for normally, but say you sell a bunch of stickers there and you make 60% of what you would normally make. They get 40% for hosting your stuff and providing the tags and providing the bags and selling it. And you get that 60%, but then they also just sold your stuff in a store, and people are going to remember that. And they're going to be like, oh, you're out of those stickers I like. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, they have an online shop. oh, they have an Instagram. Here's their card. And eventually you can find a place to sublease. And my goal is to have my own brick and mortar someday where I'm doing screen printing out the back, helping other small businesses, running an art closet. Too many goals, but you know, like I could go on forever. But that's how I did it. You just got to take a chance. If somebody laughs in your face, laugh harder, because you will find your niche. You'll find your corner of the universe. It's your corner. It's nobody else's corner. You make space for yourself. Spread out. Don't let anybody make you feel small. Spread out, because no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, I absolutely love everything you just said. I've actually, I have prints in my local comic book store. They purchased a bunch of prints off me, and I completely forgot about that. But they purchased them outright and then put their own price tag on.
Like wholesale. Okay, that's another option, right? Wholesale is great. I actually am looking into doing wholesale in the future when I have more items, because I'm screen printing them myself, and a couple local places have asked me already. But it's because I've gotten my stuff out there with consignment first, and then
Got good stuff, man.
Right?
Yeah. Have you found that this doing this, taking this step and taking this chance has allowed you to expand your business further?
Oh, 100%. I do not regret it one day. I was nervous for about 14 seconds, and then I got an email from Sarah the next day saying, oh, you already sold, da, 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 and that gave me a boost, because I might not sell something every day, but when I do sell something, they tag me on Instagram, they tag me on Twitter, they tag me on TikTok, they make videos of my stuff. They'll do like a little, oh, I got this at Abracadabra, and she has an online shop. And I'm just like, these people that don't even live in the same town as me see my stuff and wear it. And then there are people that come to Merced, because it's like the gateway to Yosemite is their motto. They come from out of town, stop in Merced. You see Merced students come and see it, and before you know it, you just have this tiny little, the Sad Babes Club is growing. There's more sad babes everywhere. We're all sad sometimes.
Speaking of sad babes, how did that name come about?
Yeah.
Well, ironically, a group of friends and I were going to have a podcast together over the pandemic. A lot of us are not friends anymore, unfortunately. It sucks, but that's the way it goes sometimes, especially when you're not like physically close. People grow apart. But they were trying to like brainstorm names, and I threw out the Sad Babes Club, because I was like, we're all sad, we're all like babes, everyone's a babe, like guys, girls, whatever. Sure. And they were like, oh yeah, that works. And then like we did one episode and everyone dropped out, and then like one of my friends was like, you thought of the name, why don't you just do something with it? Like I had already had a small shop that was like loosely Disney based. I really like Disney, maybe not as much now, but I used to love it. And like I was making handmade items and stickers, and I was like, I would like to gravitate away from that and do things that I personally am more interested in and aren't like happy and peaceful and cutesy, because that's not really me. Like I've always been kind of like weird. I guess
I would say your aesthetic is very punk rock, which I love. You know, I mean, you got eyeballs hanging from your ears right now, which is
right.
Oh, my friend Craft Sylvania she's my earring dealer.
That's awesome. Now I know that Cold Creep had brought up, like, I guess that kind of segues into another question that Stephanie had asked about, how do you deal with, you know, mental illness, or not mental illness per se, but like keeping your mental wellness up, and in times like this. I know that as an artist, it's almost like expected that you have almost manic episodes where you're high and low.
And honestly, it's extremely difficult. It's very hard. And the more I push myself, the harder it is to come back from those low days and those low points. But I just try to let myself feel like shit. And that's honestly, we're especially the generation I'm from, we're immersed in this culture of like self-care and be happy and positive vibes. And I'm just like, look, sometimes you just feel like shit, and there's nothing wrong with just owning it and allowing yourself to feel like shit some days, because there's not a magical quote from the internet that's going to cure that. And there's not like, you can't sprinkle fairy dust on everything. Like sometimes you just gotta feel like shit. That's what my whole motto, like my unofficial motto for my shop is, it's okay to cry, because I tell my son all the time, I don't want him raised with toxic masculinity. And my husband tries to show him emotions that are raw and real and original, and like show him that it's okay to express them. So yeah, it is okay to cry. It is okay to feel like shit. It's okay to have a bad day, because someday it won't be like that. You have to go through those times, and those times, they're going to teach you a lot about yourself. And that's not for anybody else. You don't owe anybody anything. You owe yourself. And you're with yourself 24 hours a day. Nobody else is. So if you're feeling like shit, go ahead. Like Robin, I'm giving you permission. Feel like shit. It's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. You made it 100% of the way through all the other days that you felt like shit. I guarantee you'll make it through this one. You just got to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I think as a creative, like I said, it's almost like a preconceived notion you have to have those manics, and I'm very much somebody who does, and I do wear my heart on my sleeve, and I am not afraid to cry at all. Like I stay away from sad movies because I'm a blubbering idiot, and so I'm like, I just that's who I am. So I just don't want to be that person. And I have things in my life that it may correlate to that trigger me into those. You know, my wife makes fun of me, and she does it less now that she understands a little bit my triggers and things like that. But she's definitely has made fun of me in the past for it. But that, the whole toxic masculinity thing is definitely it's a hard thing for a lot of men to get over. And because it's not okay to
be yourself.
To be yourself. And like, I love that
crazy.
You said something that really struck me, because when I read the Sad Babes Club, I instantly, it seems feminine to me. But you said, what you said there is, we're all babes, man, woman. And I was like, oh, okay. Because it's that toxic masculinity that we're just programmed to think about all the time.
Girl. And like that's something that I for a long time. I haven't had time recently. I make like feminine hygiene products that are reusable, washable, and better for the environment. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're just making feminine products. But I'm like, technically they're not feminine products, because transgender people can use them too. Not, non-binary people use them. And to put a gender on a piece of cloth is insane to me, because I don't give a shit who wears my stuff. As long as it's not like some fucking Nazi, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Come on. Saying that people that wear makeup, right? Because that's what those are usually meant for, right? It's a clean up makeup. People that only wear makeup is feminine.
My son uses them. He
has a
skincare routine, and he's like, "Oh, mom, make me some heart-shaped ones. Make me some blah 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 shaped ones." And he picks out the fabric, and my husband uses them. They're great. They're good for the environment.
There you go.
I mean, I have a 16-year-old daughter that I have made quite clear to her that whatever she needs, she is, she can come and talk to me about anything.
Exactly. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Right.
If you need me to pick you up from something from the store, I will go do that. I have no problem doing that. I am, forgive the phrase, but I am comfortable enough with my sexuality that I can do any of that stuff, and it doesn't bother me at all.
Well, I think it's just weird that we as a society have this like fascination with like shaming women or people who have periods for having them, because I'm like, it's not, you can't just like turn it off, like
I don't understand
like
that either.
Time, man, like, and it's 50% of the population's gonna have a vagina, like, deal with it.
Well, and as a single father for a long time with my daughter, I mean, yes, she lives with her mom, but that's something that I had to be like versed in for her. If she came and that happened, why, her first time, why she was in my house, I would have to deal with that, and I can't freak out. I gotta be that support system for her. So, and I don't know how.
It's a completely natural part of life.
Yeah.
And people experience it, and they don't have a choice. And the other people that don't experience it should just treat it like it's as normal as having, I don't know, like watching TV or eating.
Yeah, definitely.
It's literally just part of life. Like,
yeah. I'm sure people are listening are going, wow, that took a real big turn, but I don't really care.
But that's
really
part
funny
of
is
my
I was
art is making sure that people understand that my stuff
Yeah.
isn't girl stuff just because it has the word babe. I like that you brought that up because there's one of my friends from high school recently reconnected with me at a vendor event. He was I can't even probably like 6'5", beard. Ugh, like he's crazy. He has like tattoos on his head. Like he's probably scares the shit out of a lot of people. Not me. I don't care. He was literally the Easter Bunny at the mall one year. I don't care. He's not scaring me. But he bought my stuff. And somebody was telling him like all these terrible things and like talking shit about trans people and talking shit about how he's like feminine for wearing that. And he was like, it's literally a hoodie. Like it has a bat on it. It's really cool. I don't understand why you're upset. And he's just like the audacity that they even had because like, he probably could have like eaten them, first of all. And second of all, like he's he won't because he's like gentle and sweet, but like it's just crazy that they just decided to pick a fight with him, not even knowing who he is based on that. And like and then there's using gay slurs like that what? I don't understand that. Like and even if someone is gay, why is that any of your business? Like, why do you interject yourself into people's lives? Read the shirt, move on. If you don't like it, don't like it. Don't wear it then. Keep your eyes yourself.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I have made real clear about my TikTok page and with the Paint the Fucking World it means like this we're painting love, we're painting acceptance, and it's more than just the actual physical act of painting. I've always said that, if you're an artist, you're leaving this world a more beautiful place than you found it just by creating art.
Yeah.
And
the world is shitty enough.
Yeah.
Like, the least we could do is try to make it a little better.
Yeah. So I try to make sure that, everybody feels welcome. And it's an important thing for me, because I grew up, not that this is direct relation, but I grew up the fat kid. I grew up with that on my shoulder. I've been in the situations where I tried to kill myself when I was younger because it was hard, and it was one of those things that it ate at me night after night. And now I'm fuck it. I am who I am. You either love me or don't. And I think that it's important. I was a kid.
Even been in that situation. Nobody should have made you feel that way. That's fucked up and it's sad. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're alive.
I thank you. I appreciate that. It's one of those things that I feel like a lot of people go through, and knowing that there's support out there, whether it be like a complete stranger, like I've told people like, hey, this is my number. If you need to call somebody or talk to me, like just call me. I want to make sure that one of the things that I have a problem with gatekeeping in this community, and this is my biggest issue, is I think it's like 33% higher for artistic people to commit suicide.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you have gatekeepers and people who bully, they don't really know the ramifications of what they could potentially be causing.
Right.
And it's a serious issue.
It's easy to remove yourself from responsibility in the age of technology because it's so easy to type words that you might not even actually mean seriously, but somebody can take them to heart and really feel like shit about it forever. You don't know what kind of trauma you can do to somebody else's psyche or what they're going through with just the stroke of a key on a keyboard because you're just being an asshole that day.
Yeah. And, if I see like one of my friends who are having these encounters, I don't confront the bully. I just reach out to my friends. And I reach out to them and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Like if I'm gone for 6 to 8 hours, Marco is messaging me, are you okay? You good? That's the kind of relationship that
you need that friendship with people. It's important to have. Me and my friends have words, like check-in words. Like if I worry about them, I'm like, hey, what's the phrase? You got to tell me what's going on. And then if they say it, I know it's them. I know they're okay. I know they just need time and space. That's kind of our little like signal to each other, so that way we're not like overdoing it, but we're making sure they know that we're here without having to like girl them.
Sure.
I do tend to girl my friends.
That's a cool idea.
But like, yeah, bullying, especially at a young age. I mean, it happens as an adult, and it's maybe easier to get like just delete the app or whatever, which you shouldn't have to do. But like as kids, like I see it it's so easy to just write it off as like, oh, they're just being kids, they'll grow out of it. And I'm like, no, that's not normal. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. I went to my son's elementary school and I started a friendship club. I invited all the little kids in during lunch. They gave me a classroom. We just played Legos and I taught them about how to treat each other, cyberbullying. The school totally allowed me to do that. And it really helped my son make friends because he was being bullied and no one was doing anything about it. And I was like, well, I'm going to do something about it because I have the time right now. And more people should have that stuff at their schools and in communities. And hopefully, you know, that plants a seed in some of those kids' heads that it's not normal to treat each other like shit. Because their parents might not have time to teach them that, or they might come from a background where there is a lot of toxic behaviors, whether it's masculine or feminine or whatever. It's just like, I grew up in a household where maybe my parents did love me, but I definitely wasn't shown in an appropriate amount or way. And the affection was very like few and far between. And I had to learn how to love myself. And that took a while.
Yeah.
And my kid's not going to go through that.
You know, when I was in college I went to art college, and one of the instructors I wouldn't say he prided himself on making his students cry, but that was the rumor that went around. And I always thought it was pretty fucked up. Well, you know, I went to college quite a bit later than most kids do. I was, you know, well into my 20s, almost into my 30s. You know, I was a father. I had been around the block, to put it that way. But he tried bullying me with one of my pieces, and it didn't work. And you know, we have a 3-hour class, 9 people, and it's a critique at the end of the semester. And he took 45 minutes of that class trying to break me down. And I got to the point after 45 minutes, and I said, okay, you know, I think we're about done. You know, you may be right. He goes, well, I am right. And I said, that's fine. You can feel that way, but I'm not wrong, and I won't be treated like a child. And you cannot degrade my feelings and what I did on here. I said, we're done. And he goes, okay, let's take a break. And he came up to me during the break, and he goes, are we cool? And I said, yeah, we're fine. You know, you're my instructor. I respect your opinion, but you're not going to disregard me either. And I was pissed. I was really, really upset. But it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I really realized what he was doing. And he wasn't trying to be malicious. He wasn't trying to pick on me specifically. What he was trying to do was prepare his students for a world that's going to break them down and shred their art apart. Because as artists, we put a lot of ourselves into our work.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was trying to say, this is a safe setting, and I'm gonna take your piece, and I'm gonna shred you down, but then I'm gonna take you aside afterwards, and we're gonna talk. So he tried to do it in a safe space, and I understand that. But the fact that he felt like he had to do that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know,
like we live in that kind of society where the art isn't respected, the artist isn't respected, and then the programs are cut first before anything else. But then, you know, the people who have all the money, they go home and they click on their Netflix. Like, that's not art. Like, those aren't actors and people that wrote those jokes that you're laughing at, and the music that's composed in those TV shows that you're so obsessed with don't come from artists. And
yes,
no, cut those programs. See how much more fucked up the world is going to get without art.
Yeah.
Because we're not. But then we have artist collectives that don't let shit like that happen. That's what unionizing artists should be. Maybe not formally unionizing, but basically at least getting together and saying we're not going to take any more shit from other people, and the critiques are going to come from within.
Yeah. It's such a weird world, and it's kind of it's very sad at times, for sure.
No, it definitely is, man. And your name puts it in perspective, you know, because even though it came from a podcast that, by the way, the name still would have fit perfectly.
I feel like I was definitely speaking my own vibe when I threw that name into the room, because that's how I felt that day. And I did feel like that's something I carry with me a lot, is I am sad sometimes and a lot of the time, but I manage it the way that I do.
So what I really like about the name is when I first read it and thought about it, and we are talking about like, masculine and feminine and all that stuff. I actually got none of that when I first read it, because what I like held on to, or what I like took from it, was the club part, the sad babes club. I was like, ooh, I want to be part of that club. So like it made me think of like, the losers club from It and stuff, and
Yeah, like
that amalgamation of artists and losers or outcasts, and so it's sad babes makes me think of that. And I was like,
we've all
this
been a
is
place
dope.
for each other.
Yeah, I was like, this is dope. The names got me, the art's got me. Your mentality, your your openness, right? All that got me. So I definitely knew I had to get you on here.
Thank you.
But if
I've
you don't
enjoyed
mind
it.
me segueing a little bit, one of the question that I really, really wanted to ask you, and it was just something that I saw a lot of your designs, and I like them all. I don't think I saw one that I'm like, oh, okay, that one's not, because I went through a lot of stuff. But I'm really curious, like which design that you, for anything, whether it was a T-shirt or a sticker, when you started, when you were a kid, or now, like which design do you think speaks to you the most?
Oh, that's a good question. It's hard to choose like one because I feel so passionately about the things that I put out. Like I try not to put anything out that I don't love. But definitely I would have to say maybe like the Spice Girls design that I like, because I really like grew up listening to the Spice Girls and then watching zombie movies, and like I always thought that would be such a fun like mashup because they're, it's just like dead pop stars, and then like my son's fascinated with Shaun of the Dead and the Cornetto films, and like so we like zombies and weird shit, and like making it funny. Like there's nothing better than turning something scary into something funny, because then it doesn't have power over you, you have power over it, and it kind of just becomes
Right.
part of your core personality. You carry it with you. And like when I hired the artist, he is actually from Britain. So I was like, yes,
That's
he
dope.
got my whole vibe. And we've worked together on so many projects. So we have quite a few coming up too. And his name's Ollie. He's amazing. I think his name's Schmohawk on Instagram. I'll tag him on some stuff in my stories so people will know. But like, I felt like when we had a conversation about making it, he didn't like think I was too weird, because like it was the first conversation I'd ever had with them. I'm like, hey, I had this weird dream about this. I've been thinking about it for a while. Do you mind if I hired you for a commercial piece? And he was like, oh, okay. Totally took it on, and it was so weird, and I love it. And I can't wait to like keep doing reprints, because I've had to do quite a few cycles of them already, and people love them, and they get it, and it makes me happy when I'm not so weird that people don't get it. I think that's the scariest part about putting something out there. I really want to make a serial mom themed shirt. Not really sure if a lot of people would understand why I'm fascinated with that film, but I just can't help my love for it. Like I just love it. It's so fucking weird. Like I feel like serial mom. Like I feel like I'm like, because everyone's like, oh, you're such a good mom. You take care of you're everybody's mom. And you always have, you make really good food, and you take really good care of your son. Your house is so nice. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm really fucking weird. Maybe not a murderer, but like, like just really crazy. And like, I feel bad for like when my son starts having like friends over, because they're like, okay, so your mom's house has jack-o'-lanterns all year. Cool. Okay.
That
Weird.
is my home too.
Yeah. They're like outside,
I
like you don't take them down.
I do have a question in regards to you purchasing your like commissioning artists to create work for you.
Okay.
When it comes to that, have you like, I know as an artist, like a lot of my stuff is very much in the same vein, like in the stylized the way that I do it. Have you found that you might get some designs back that aren't fitting with the continuity of what you're trying to put out?
Yes, and I have had to. I've hired artists. I pay them up front. I don't, you know what I mean? There are some artists that are like, pay me when it's done, but like I'm going to pay them regardless.
Yeah.
And I've received pieces where I'm just like, okay, like we're just not vibing. We've done the back and forth. I've tried to like, and I'm not like cruel, but I'm like very to the point because it's a commercial piece. Like I'm hiring you to do commission for commercial work. So it's like something I'm going to end up selling. So it's not like just like a portrait of myself and I just don't like the way I look. Like
Sure.
it's, something I have to put out to the world. So I want to make sure that it's like fluid of what I usually do, but different in their style. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but I still pay them and I still tip them and I keep it in my back pocket. And I think maybe another artist can tackle this project and I can show them the concept for it. And I can show them what the other artist did as an example of what I maybe don't want, but still appreciated. And like,
Sure.
and sometimes artists have come, like I've hired them for multiple projects and then I'll come to them with one project and they're like, no, they're like, that sounds like no fun. That sounds terrible. And I don't want to do that. And I never get upset about it because they're the ones doing the work for that. And if they don't understand where I'm coming from, or if they just aren't feeling it, you can't fake passion. You can't fake that vibe because like if somebody says, oh yeah, cool. And it's like, I don't want people pencil pushing, you know what I mean? I want them to actually like what they're doing if they're coming to work for me.
Yeah. Like, I get asked to do portraits. Well, fairly often I do, and I will usually do them. But if somebody brings the topic of a pet portrait, I'm like, here's a list of artists, go to them because I'm gonna do pet portrait.
And honestly, and I research the shit out of my artists. Like, so if I see something like I have a concept in mind, and I'm like, okay, but what artist can I hire for this that's really gonna understand where I'm coming from? So like for the shirt that you're wearing, I cannot think of another artist that I could have possibly hired to do that. Like if he had said no, I probably just would not have ever done that design because when I envision it, I envision his type of like vintage, Halloween art. Maybe 10 years, I would find somebody that would make me feel like they could get that across the right way. But I'm very passionate about like really finding the right person. Oh, also I love Stephanie. Yes, please. Yes. Oh my God. I would love to collaborate with you. But like, it's a connection, you got to know people and you have to know when it works and when it doesn't work, and there's no shame in being honest about it. But definitely if you commission somebody and it doesn't work, you better still pay them because they did put in hours on that shit. They might not have put out what you like, but if you went back and forth with them for multiple weeks, days, even hours, and they put something together and it is quality work, you can tell they spent time on it, but it just isn't what you like, but it is based on the concept. That's probably your bad because maybe you didn't research their style of art enough and I've made that mistake before. And that's just a real thing that really happens.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the fact that every question I've had written down, we haven't even got to half of them.
I'm so sorry.
No. I love it because we have went off on completely different directions. And I love the fact that I haven't even had to look hardly down here at my screen because this is such a great conversation and we're going in every direction that we should. But there are a few questions I do want to ask you before we close up. We are running to that hour and a half mark, and I don't want to get people being like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm actually going to skip this one because I think I know what your ultimate goal with your art career is. You said you want to own a brick and mortar, so I think that's where you see yourself with your ultimate goal, maybe 10 years down the road. But one question that I've been asking artists, and it's been kind of a fun thing because I love to read. I'm a big reader, and I don't get to do it as much as I'd like, but there are books that I've read in relation to art that have helped me along the way. Do you have any books that you would suggest to an artist that you have read that has helped you with your art career or to deal with an aspect of your art career?
Well, I think I glean a lot of perspective from music. So when I read punk themed volumes, I really get inspired. So one of the pieces of fiction that really inspired me and is an extremely fun read and really made me want to get out there and create was Hairstyles of the Damned by Joe Mino. And he's one of my favorite artists of all time and favorite authors of all time, poet. He's phenomenal. And another person that I think is a great author that has really kind of like, she has like an ethereal fairy garden interesting perspective in writing is Francesca Leah Block. And then when I really just want to like read something that kind of puts the whole occult young person weirdo vibe. I like Amelia Atwater Rhodes. She has some very interesting like vampire books that are like
Oh, nice.
not creepy like Anne Rice, where it's like very like vampires, but more like vampires. Like,
Oh my God, I just
they're not
I just
sexy.
saw that Anne Rice passed away recently, and I was like, I had no
Breaks
clue.
my heart.
And I was like, what?
The world
Because I
was a
follow
better
her
place for
son
her
on Twitter.
work. She was amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big Stephen King fan.
Oh,
So-
my mom used to write him love. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. She would have miseried the shit out of that man. She was in love with Stephen King, and she had every one of his books. And when I was growing up, at my son's age, he's 12. I was reading because the Green Mile would come to you in small volumes. It didn't come to you in one book when it first came out. And I would take them out of her room when she was taking naps from work, because she used to work at Mervyn's like 12-hour shifts. And I would be like, I'm reading the Green Mile. So inappropriate. So inappropriate. And I would never take it back because I loved it so much. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. Fucking, heartbreaking, beautiful, scary ass book. Love that book.
I have the pop-up book for that.
Oh, that is so crazy.
I have a huge Stephen King collection that I've been collecting for about 15 to 20 years. Since I was in high school. I read my first Stephen King book when I was in high school, and I'm ashamed to say that I have not read nearly as much as I would like, because time doesn't always permit that, so I try to read a little bit here and there. But I've been going through all of his shorter volumes and busting those out.
Because the man can go on about, he's a describer, so there could be like 12 pages about a chair, and then you never fucking hear about the chair again, and you're like, dude, I don't have time for this chair. No offense, Mr. King.
Those are filler episodes. That's what those are.
My next month's zine is all Stephen King.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
every one of them is going to be Stephen King. But like all of the drawings I do for the zine are on Stephen King book pages, because I had a book of his that broke, the spine broke, and since I'm a hardcore collector, I went and repurchased that book, but then I'm left with this book with a broken spine. So instead of throwing it away or donating it to be thrown away, I just started making art out of it. So like I don't know if you can see this, but it's all on.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
So that's what I all of them are on Stephen King book pages.
As they should be. I think he would appreciate it, honestly.
I think so too. I'm excited to write the intro for next month, and I should have wore my based on a novel by Stephen King hat today. But I love books. It's a huge part of my life, so I thought that was always a fitting question. I know not everybody reads a lot, but do you know his son, Joe Hill?
Yeah.
I'm a big Joe Hill fan as well. What is some advice you would give to your younger self?
Run away from everyone that makes you comfortable, because those people are using you. Like, if you're too comfortable,
that is a good one. Yeah,
you're surrounded by narcissists. Robin, run the other direction.
Yeah.
I was really fucking smart, and when I tell you I was smart, it was like tested as a genius smart. Like, I could have done a lot more with my life. I don't feel like I wasted my potential. I'm very happy. My life is really fulfilling, and I'm very happy. I love myself most days. Absolutely obsessed with my kid. My husband's great. But fuck, like, I really, 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 really fucked my life up when I was a teenager, because I was so in need of something that I did not understand was just myself.
Yeah.
I hated myself. I hated that I couldn't figure out that I shouldn't hate myself. And I gravitated towards people that would take. And I was a people pleaser. And I wish I had just been like, stop it. Like, don't do that. You don't need to please anybody. Sometimes it's okay to say no. Actually, most of the time it's okay to say no. And sometimes it's okay to straight up just say fuck off, because especially as a young girl, and I was like, I'm talking like I was like 97 pounds, 4'11" in like the, senior year of high school. I was like this tiny little thing who just wanted to be happy and make other people happy. And, a lot of that ended up really fucking me up. And I would go back and say, you don't have to make people happy. You can make yourself happy. It's okay to be selfish.
I have this thing that I tell myself, and it's how I cut toxic people out of my life. It is surround yourself with people who are going to bring you up, not down.
What is it? You'd rather have a dollar bill than 100 pennies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I just, it's something, because I've had to cut toxic people out of my life before, and it's always a hard thing to do. But you can't let people drag you down to their level. So sometimes you have to walk away. And
that was the hard part. I didn't know how to walk away. I wasn't like give people a million chances, but I wouldn't see what they were doing. I wouldn't allow myself to see the true identity of who they were because I just wanted to see the good in someone. But as a Virgo, I'm very good at cutting people off and being like, I don't remember who you are. Like I see people and they're like, oh my God, Robin. And I'm just like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't remember you. I haven't thought about you since I had to see you.
I have one more question before we get off here. Marco, do you have any more questions?
No, I think we're pretty good.
All right, well, we're going to end with this one question. And this is, what advice would you give to any younger artist that's listening?
Try everything. Even if you don't think that your art is what you want it to look like, you don't know what you want your art to look like, I promise. Like someday you will evolve into the artist that you want, whether that be trying to find the right vocaling or trying to find the right guitar pedal or trying to find if you're an oil painter or a collage artist or you just simply like throwing shit at other shit and making it look cool. There's no wrong way to do art. And if somebody tells you that you're doing it wrong, it's fine. You can listen to them. But if it doesn't make you feel like that's the truth, then it's probably not the truth. And you should just figure out your right way to do art. There's so many different ways to live your life. You don't need a rule book. Just do it. And don't do drugs, please.
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
Robin, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
We would love to have you on again in the future and check in with you and see how things are going. Because I feel like we could talk for another 4 or 5 hours.
Agreed.
And break that up into like an entire season of podcasts. So I really appreciate you coming
I told you
on.
I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
And Robin, I'm gonna formally ask you right now if you would be interested in maybe joining in on some of our mini-sodes here and there, and as kind of
I was thinking the same thing.
Just kind of talk shop about a different topic in art, because I would love to have you on and include you more, because I think that you have such a unique perspective and you're an absolute blast to talk to. So thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us today. Does the Sad Babes Club have a catchphrase at all?
It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry.
It's okay
Hate the fucking world.
And stay rebellious, guys.